Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an outstanding program this evening for you. These are two people that you should know. Reverend Dr. Tyron Smith is a senior staff chaplain, Advocate Condell Medical Center, 801 South Milwaukee Street, Libertyville, Illinois. And to my immediate left is Carol Hawkins. She's the manager of cardiology and respiratory services. And we're going to be talking about the Black Health Expo. You may wonder, why is it necessary to have a Black Health Expo? Well, they're going to be talking about it. And we're very happy that they've taken time from their busy schedules to be with us to let Lake County know about the topic of Black Health Expo. Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
Again, we're very happy that you've taken time, literally, to come to the studio to talk about a topic that everyone would like to know about. And we're going to let Reverend Dr. Tyron Smith tell us a little bit about his personal and professional background. Who is Chaplain Smith?
Well, Chaplain Smith is excited.
Okay.
I'm excited about the Black Health Expo. But I'm also the senior staff chaplain, as you mentioned, at Condell Medical Center in Libertyville, Illinois. And I am the pastor of Greater Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago, Illinois.
Wow.
But even more than that, I am married to my beautiful wife, Dora, and we have 4 boys, amen, and I have 14 grandchildren. Yes, sir. I've been working for Advocate Healthcare for the past 10 years, and I'm retired from Ford Motor Company.
Oh.
I became involved with pastoral care. It's what we called it in my church. And I became a pastoral care visitor at the church where I was serving back seems like a long time ago in Chicago Heights, Illinois. And it was through that ministry at that church that I became so engulfed within pastoral care and how we could better minister to the sick, the shut-in, and the bereaved. I just found myself loving what I was doing. And so my doctorate was concerned with that. It was concerned with developing an evangelistic training program for pastoral care visitors at Union Church in Chicago Heights. And I completed that, and it is copyrighted, and I'm rather proud of that work. But more than all of that, I love my children, my grandchildren, and I love the church. And I'm just proud to be here and glad you have me this evening.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad that you accepted to be on the program to let Lake County. And I'd like to let you know that Lake County is approximately 750,000 to 850,000 people. But we have a Comcast audience of about 100,000. But in addition to the Comcast family, this show would be aired in Cook County and Kenosha County, in addition to Lake County. And more than that, if you have not been known around the world, you will be after this program, because this program will be online. You could watch it in Japan, Australia, whatever, you know. Oh, wow. So we're happy to get the word out. But Carol Hawkins, I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I gave Chaplain Smith to tell our listening audience a little bit about your personal professional background. Who is Carol Hawkins?
So Carol Hawkins is actually an implanted Chicagoan. I was born, raised in Jamaica, and came to Chicago at around 16.
Oh.
I was introduced to healthcare and cardiac at a very early age, around 18. I've followed that career, so I started at Mercy Hospital in Chicago, and that was in 1984. So that's a long time ago. I've always been in a leadership role, and so I continued school through a master's in healthcare administration. I moved to Houston for a while and moved back and ended up in Antioch. However, my dream has always been to, community awareness and helping and educating the Black community specifically. During school, it became very apparent that our race, our culture, our ethnicity kind of is left behind with a lot of the research, with a lot of what's available. We just don't know. And so this has been a great dream of mine that is getting facilitated by our partnership and our at Condell and advocates supporting it.
Well, this is really going to be a learning experience for our audience, and actually a learning experience for me after talking with Chaplain Smith.
Yes,
So it's a win-win situation. And also, you're at Advocate Condell Medical Center,
At this time,
I'm
yes,
sure that it was a learning experience for them. But tell us about the group that Chaplain Smith that you were associated with, and how did you get Condell involved with this to have a joint effort for this Black Expo,
Well,
Black Health Expo?
There is a committee, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee at Condell Medical Center, and we have a diverse group of individuals that come together on a monthly basis to discuss the issues intricate of Condell Medical Center. And one of the more prolific points of interest for myself and for Carol, who is the co-chair of that particular committee, was how do we get Black Americans to better care for themselves, for one thing, and how do we get them interested in taking better care of themselves medically. We've done some research, and our research has informed us of what we can do, and most of it is centered around awareness, making them aware of those particular medical benefits that are available to them, not only at Condell but throughout Advocate. And so we went forward and we started to press, if you will, press our way forward. And we wanted to ensure that this was going to be available. All this information that we've attained would be available to the African American community in Lake County, seeing that Condell is a level 1 trauma center, and most traumas are filtered through Condell, as it is the only level 1 trauma center in Lake County.
Wow.
Yes, sir, and level 2 PEDS trauma. And so with that being said, gunshot wounds come through, stab wounds come through, things of that nature, all types of traumas. And sometimes you hate to say things, but you just have to say them, and most of them are people of color, minorities who come through with gunshot wounds, that have been stabbed, that have been blunt trauma. These things which seem to be indigenous to our community, but we wanted to help. And that's what this is really involved with, helping the Black Americans attain better medical care.
I have to congratulate your group then of having this Black Health Expo, and also to get Condell involved.
Yes.
Are they serving on your committee too, or do your committee just take the information back to them?
Well, there are, there's a VP, and of one which you know, Reverend Fred was on there.
Yes.
Yes, and we have a VP, Christian Wallace, and we have several managers. And what happens is what we discuss and deem appropriate to go forward in doing will be taken to leadership. Sister Carol here, she is involved with that process, and maybe she could talk more about how that works out. I'm more in the nuts and bolts and getting out in the community to get the word out to the churches and to the leaders in the community. And then she is the one who talks with leadership at Condell to influence them and show them what we've put together as a program plan that will work, and it has to be workable and doable before they'll get on board. So I'll let her talk to you about that aspect of it.
Okay, speaking of leadership, you've shown a great deal of leadership now in referring to Carol. Carol, you want to enlighten us
on how that process works.
Yes.
So as we meet as a committee every month, and we identify at least 3 things that we would like to do per quarter. We break up into subcommittees, getting the more appropriate people that can handle each project, and then we outline it. We determine if there are any needs financially or otherwise of the organization, and then we go through our VP, our vice president, and bring that to the senior leadership at Condell. We take it and we ask for their support, and at that time we're able to gain whether this is something that we really think that they will engage in. So I'm happy to say that we will have several of our senior leaders at the event, because they have all, expressed such excitement that this is happening.
Well, Chaplain Smith, tell us about this event that Carol just mentioned. It's going to be, it's called, of course, the Black Health Expo 2018, and it's going to be Saturday, August the 25th, and you have from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., which is a convenient time. People don't have to get up too early.
Yes.
And then they have the rest of the evening to do their chores or what they want to do. August the 25th, Saturday, 10 to 2. But tell us about this event.
Well, we have solicited the help of many African American Black doctors, Black nurses, and also other minority nurses, a diverse group of professional medical people who will be coming forth to just share great information that they are aware of, and how we can help African Americans with things such as diet, okay, eating properly, because what we eat actually determines, in some instances, how some of these diseases proliferate within our bodies. But we've looked at some of the needs, and people in Black communities are sometimes unaware of many of the healthcare opportunities that are available to them out in the community. Say, for instance, if a young man is shot and comes into the emergency room at Condell Medical Center or any Advocate hospital, that person can, if he is the victim or she is the victim of a crime, they can receive financial assistance with paying for the hospital stay. And if the person, and a lot of people don't know this, if the person happens to expire while they're there, there are also funds that are set aside by the state for them to be helped with funeral expenses. And so these are the type of things we want to bring to the attention of some of our brothers, our black brothers and black sisters, but not only them, but to everyone. To if you're white and you want to come, come. If you're Hispanic and you want to come, come. If whatever your ethnicity is.
You're also inclusive, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so this is one of our major staples, diversity and inclusion. We want to get the word out that Condell is there to help you as much as they can, medically and financially.
You mentioned medically. Now, you have here a long laundry list of probably people not aware. You got heart and lung disease, cancer info, diabetes and diabetes management, even pain management. That stood out with me because my wife was hospitalized for 4 months from post-surgery. And she was in so much pain that she wanted a pill every hour. Now, because of pain management, they let her know that they can only give her medicine every 12 hours or every 8 hours, every 4 hours, and so forth like that, because it would have some other after effects, So she had to learn pain management too, along with the nurses. Diet and exercise, of course, we'll talk about that. That's Carol mentioned about that, and community resources that you're involved in. But let's talk about Carol, cardiology and respiratory services. Tell us about how important is the cardiology?
It's extremely important. As we get older, and even for the youth, we start eating certain foods. They're comfort foods, or they're fast, they're easy access foods, and some of these foods leave a long-standing effect health-wise for us. The lack of exercise helps us to build that girth around the middle. All of that adds up to having cardiac issues, diabetes, kidney disease. It is almost a snowball effect. As you move through life, it would be nice to know what to do. You can enjoy your comfort food, but do this as well. And also, as you start to experience certain things, to know, okay, as a black person, I know I am probably at a higher risk for diabetes. Maybe I should be getting my blood sugar checked, and those sort of things. So we really want to bring an awareness to how can you maybe delay having diabetes or even not have it at all, even though every member of your family in the past may have. So moving forward, give that information, give that, accountability to individuals to be able to take care of their individual health and own it. And also coming to this expo, you will learn a lot of information that you may take back to family members or friends that may have a complaint. And you will be able to step in and say, have you had your blood sugar checked? At this expo, I heard this, and this. So maybe you should, you're having these dizzy spells, whatever. Someone's face twists a little. Could this be a stroke? I learned about this at the expo. So this is really what we want to do, is to get this information out, make it usable, and be able to continue doing this year after year because everyone finds it of value.
You mentioned about dieting. coming from a ghetto, the person may not have had the advantage of a dietitian,
Correct.
or not knowing, what foods they should eat and what foods they should not eat. Eat the heavy pork, pork and other foods.
Barbecue.
Barbecue,
Yes.
right. So how would they, well, by coming out here to this expo, then, but otherwise, how would they find out
So
about what foods they should eat? Because it's very important,
there is so much information online through the health resources and through the government. The diabetic, there's the ADA for the American Diabetic Association.
Okay.
That once you start getting information, you know where you can locate. The food pyramid, it's actually no longer the food pyramid. And some of us may be stuck in that mindset. It's now a full plate. And a lot of what we were told you should not eat because of your health, we're now finding, yes, you should eat it, but just smaller quantities.
Okay.
Like your soul food. You don't have to give up your soul food. Maybe you might need to cook it a little differently. And maybe you might need to enjoy the family reunion, but just not eat as much.
And not put the heavy salt in it.
And not heavy salt, not, tons of sugar. Watching your carbs, maybe choose a little bit more fish and a little less pork. Those kind of things are valuable to hear, and it's things that you can practice in your daily life.
Because if you say pay now or pay later,
Oh my goodness.
Right.
But tell us about, since we mentioned about this lung cancer info, about smoking and drinking. Now, I was thinking education at an early age, maybe even at the high school level, is important because not only just blacks, but everyone think it's cool to smoke.
Correct.
Have a cigarette in one hand, drinking in the other, You start young. You mentioned cardiology. That smoke is going to remain on the lung. Because now every time I have a annual physical, the doctor asks me, do you smoke or drink? Because that smoking has a lasting effect. And now we see people with to carry the what do you call it?
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
tanks.
Yes.
But they say you pay now, pay later.
And that's part of what we want to do, Dr. Brooks, is to educate and improve health education in our community. Because if I could just read some statistics.
Okay.
Because in many cases, blacks have the same diseases as our white counterparts. For instance, blacks are 3 times more likely to die from asthma than white Americans. Blacks have a 25% higher cancer death rate than our white counterparts. Black women have a 20% higher cancer death rate than white women. Blacks tend to develop chronic disease earlier in life, diabetes, earlier in life, and overall have shorter life expectancies when compared to whites.
And now is that because of the zip codes that they live in?
It's not necessarily because of zip codes,
Okay.
but I think it's more so because of distrust. And you know the history of distrust within the medical field that blacks have for the medical field. When you think about the Tuskegee boys.
Oh, that was planned, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you think about, what was this other thing down recently in Charlotte, Virginia, where there was this white hate crime going on. And so what we want to do, and what I'm really, really implicit and explicit about doing, is debunking this mindset of distrust. Because there are doctors that look like you and me that are out there. And there are nurses that look like you and I who are out there who are doing their best to help bring an awareness to African Americans. And I say African Americans and blacks because the terminology, but they're out there and they want to help and help black people know that there is something you can do about your own personal health. Do it for yourself if you're not going to do it for anyone else. Think about yourself and how you want to live as you get older, because everyone's getting older. We're not getting younger. As much as the TV shows want to make you think that you're getting younger, we're all getting older.
And both of you seem to be very passionate about what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Yes, sir.
We on this earth to save lives. You know,
To help whomever we can.
And make it better.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, indeed.
Along with what you were mentioning, that I had several people say they're, but the trust factor, they're looking in Lake County for black doctors to be their primary care doctor.
Yes, sir.
Where can they find them?
So we're not allowed to refer you to doctors.
But they're available, though.
But they are available, and there are quite a few out there. As we started researching to get clinicians, we found that there are quite a few. There are physician assistants that are out there too that are our ethnicity. At the event, we're going to have Dr. Reginald Spears, who's been at Condell for quite some time and very active in the community.
Yeah.
He's like in Evanston or somewhere.
No, he is in the Condell area.
Okay.
He's a little bit west of us. And he has a practice right here in Lake County. And it's a little bit further west, but it's close proximity to Condell. We have a lot of African American physicians at our urgent cares. That there's one in Gurnee, one Round Lake, one in Vernon Hills.
Well, I'll
And
tell
they
you,
wrote
I'll
they
be
through,
honest,
so-
you may not be able to do it here, but if you could get it, email it to me and I could circulate it. Because they were serious about this, and not they don't trust the white doctors, but they want to know that there has to be someone that look like them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
And there is. There is. There are doctors who are being trained up and doctors who are trained, who look and talk and walk and act like us. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And there's no longer a necessity for us to be afraid of going to get medical care when we're hurting. You don't have to tell me once or twice. Something's not feeling right. I'm going to the doctor, and that's what we want to instill. If you're not feeling good, go to the doctor. If you have to use the emergency room as your primary care physician, use the emergency room until you can do better, because they're there to help us. And Condell is there waiting with open arms. Yes, sir. Use it.
Yeah, there are high recommendations that, for example, to colon cancer, for example, you recommend to start having your tests, at 40 or 45?
I did.
Start having it then?
Yes, I started at 45
Yeah, right.
with colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Yes, and now that I'm over 60, I do it regularly every 5 years. Every 5 years.
And you mentioned about black health. There are some diseases that are more typical of blacks. Then I could just start off by naming sickle cell, for example. It's more
Absolutely.
typical. And that just awareness you mentioned too, to know this, to know that it's important to get checked out, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we have nurses who will be coming forth with information. We have these, as I said, this lineup of professional physicians who will be coming forth with information. And we need to soak up as much of this information as we can, because no one's going to look out for us better than we can look out for ourselves. At least that's my theory.
tell us a little bit more about this upcoming event. We want to mention it several times. I noticed that it's a free event.
Yes, it
It doesn't
is.
cost anything.
Doesn't cost you anything
And
but your
another
time.
special thing, there's a lunch will be provided.
Yes.
Free lunch.
Free your time.
free lunch, and I'm sure it will be.
It will be a catered lunch.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Dietetic too, right? I'm sure it'll be.
It will be a healthy lunch. I'll
healthy-
say that
healthy,
much.
yeah. right.
Yes, sir.
So, you're dealing with people, not patients. But tell us a little bit more about this, the Expo. I mentioned before that Advocate Condell Medical Center is jointly sponsoring this with you.
Yes, sir.
And they allowed the conference center to be used. And I think this is fantastic. I think this is the first that I've heard of any hospital doing this.
My intent, others tried to convince us to have it in Gurnee or somewhere off of, and I no, my intent is to have it right here at Condell, because this is where we want our people to come to Condell. And so we convinced them, even though they were still kind of hemming and hawing, we convinced them that Condell was the place for this event to be brought forward. And they agreed, because we want to bring attention to Condell and what Condell can do for the community, because we're there waiting. You know, there's a new section to the hospital that's been built, the West Tower. You're aware of that?
Yes.
Yes, and it just wants to be filled. Wants you to come. Come on, get your health care at Condell. And my dear sister here, she can tell you more about what we plan, because she put the schedule together.
Oh,
yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
So our great goal is to share with our community that you're welcomed there at Condell, that we embrace taking care of you. And we're going to take care of you like we would any other person. So there was a big push why we had our flyer to say people, not patients.
Okay, yeah, I noticed that.
Right, because we want to take care of you as a person first,
Okay.
and also address your health needs from a holistic approach. So for the day's events, we're going to have Ask the Experts. So during lunch, anyone attending will be able to walk up and speak to someone from cardiology. They'll be able to get their blood pressure taken. We've also added getting your blood sugar taken. A lot of people walking around not knowing they have high blood sugar levels. So you'll be able to get that done. We'll give out some record keeping cards that you can, after you've left, still, take your blood pressure and record it or whatever. We are soliciting to get some gifts, either some blood pressure monitors and some blood sugar monitors as well, that we would be able to give away. We also will have not only the Ask the Expert, but hands-only CPR, how to save a life, where we will be teaching anyone that wants to learn how to do compressions and save a life until EMS can get there. No breathing, just doing the compressions. It's been proven that you can save someone's life just by keeping the compressions going and creating that circulation. A lot of people don't know that. We will also have information on stroke and how to recognize a stroke at these booths. We'll also have several vendor tables. So there will be vendors, and what I've specifically asked the vendors, since there is no charge for them to participate, is to bring all the information that they can share with our community. And to also bring information if there are ways that our community or any person can have financial assistance. A big issue we have in the flu season, patients go home and they need breathers and puffers.
Yes.
They can't afford it. These things are about $400. And what happens, the person goes home with one puffer. When that is done, they don't have, and they come back in either worse than they were before because they can't afford.
Yes.
So we're asking vendors to bring in information because a lot of vendors, a lot of these companies, medical companies, medication companies have programs to help
What about
financially.
people that come that don't have health care?
So we have solicited, and we got we've included him as an Ask the Expert, and he will actually be speaking more so to Medicare.
Okay.
As you get older, you may think you're covered, and then you get a rude awakening. So he will be educating a little bit as to when you're getting ready to retire, these are the things you need to have in place. This is what Medicare will cover for you, and this is what you may need to plan to cover to be sure you're not left with a gap. So we do have someone, and he will probably be on our panel as well.
And another important phase is the rehab centers. Are you working closely with rehab too, right? Because there's a
Absolutely.
certain amount of days you can use and this type of thing.
Correct.
'Cause I
Certain
know they're
amount of
from-
visits
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what is covered, what is not covered. So I'm also the manager of cardiac rehab, and our physical therapy is very closely related with us. So we're going to have information on all that. And actually, our blood pressure station and the stroke education and heart failure education are all going to be done by the cardiology nurses and clinicians.
I was excited about doing this program and letting people know what's available because my wife and I both participated and got high ratings of the hospital.
Great.
Great job. And notice here you have also a rehab center too. It's second to none. You want to tell us about the rehab center?
Now we have a few different types of rehab. Specifically, which rehab? The cardiac rehab? Or
Cardiac rehab, that's
the
right.
cardiac rehab.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
on the West Wing. Is that
The West Tower.
West Tower,
Yes.
Yeah.
So our
Yeah.
cardiac rehab program, we have strived to be cutting edge, state of the art. And we are actually one of those programs that the rest of Advocate kind of, picks our processes to implement. So, yes, we have a great, robust program.
Chaplain Smith, you mentioned about community resources. You have really reached out to the
Yes, sir.
community, and
Yes,
so
sir.
you're doing an outstanding job. So you probably know the community almost as well as I do.
I don't think so, Doc. I don't think so.
there.
We're working on it.
You're doing
Yes,
doing
sir.
a great job. And it's so important for the community to know more about Condell and
Yes, sir.
what you
Yes,
offer
sir.
here.
Yes, sir. We've reached out to some of the community leaders, the pastors
Yeah.
of the churches here at Shiloh and First
Yeah,
Corinthians.
Pastor Francis.
Francis,
Shiloh
I
Baptist
was on the
Church in
phone with him
Waukegan.
before I was talking to you the other day, and he's excited about helping us promote this event, as well as Pastor Roberson and
Yeah.
Pastor
First
Gass
Corinthian Baptist
and
Church,
Pastor Stevenson. Hopefully we'll be able to go to their meeting before the event occurs and talk with other pastors about expressing to their congregations the importance of Black health, and in particular the Black Health Expo. They have really just gravitated to me in a loving way, and I really appreciate all that they've done. Also, we have reached out to a few people in the community at the Mr. Demetrius.
The United Way.
Yes, and they have
Lunchtime.
also gravitated to us and just embraced us very closely. It's been a win-win situation, and hopefully the congregants at these churches and people in the communities will come. Don't don't worry about if you haven't RSVP'd. Come and get this information, because we want this to be a win-win for Condell and for the surrounding communities.
You would like for people to register, but if they have not registered, they still can come.
They
right?
still can come.
Yeah.
They still can come, because we can sign them up on the sheet when they enter in. We'll have registration right there at the door.
And again, this location?
Is at Condell Medical Center, 801 South Milwaukee Avenue, Libertyville, Illinois, in the conference center, room A, B, C, and D. We have the entire conference center at our disposal for that day. And another thing I want to bring to your attention, Dr. Brooks, is that we will have at some period in time, we will have someone to take all of the people that want to on a tour of the hospital, and so that they can become acclimated with how to get around in Condell. And so we're trying to do our best to make them feel comfortable when they come to this event, and hopefully they'll come on an ongoing basis.
Now, you mentioned comfortable, and getting to the conference center, they come right to the main entrance, and they will
correct.
be directed there?
Yes, they will.
Or can they drive around to the West Tower?
Yes, they can.
Right, it's closer to the West Tower.
It
to
is.
Yes,
drive
it
around.
is. Yes, it is. But we'll have people
Directing.
positioned in these areas that will be able to walk them to the conference center or give them very good directions on how to get there.
First class.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
For parking purposes, yes, it will be easier parking by the
West Tower, because there's more parking available there than in the main entrance.
Right.
Yes, so we're working hard, and we're looking forward to this being a grand event.
Okay, now you mentioned, I had to really emphasize the location, the date, time, covered that, free lunch and registration. There are more people, there's more dialysis centers opening up in Lake County ever before. Do you have a dialysis center here at Condell?
We have inpatient dialysis.
Yeah.
You do have inpatient
We do
dialysis?
have inpatient dialysis. So if you are in the hospital and you won't miss any of your routine dialysis appointments.
Why is there such a greater need now than before? I never heard of so many people that's been treated for dialysis now than when I was growing up.
A lot
Is that
more, a lot more diseases.
Okay.
Yes, our eating habits have become pretty bad. We are not exercising as we did, our prior generations. I mean, just in my span, I used to walk up and turn the TV off. Now it's a... So there are a lot of things that have really impacted,
Right.
So
And another
There's a
thing
good
too
reason.
about transplants. That's another
Oh, yeah.
another thing that has really grown too now. People living longer because
yes.
they're getting transplants, and I guess, and that's to relieve the dialysis.
Yes. Yes, but it's not just kidney transplants. We actually celebrated earlier this week a patient of ours that went in and got a heart transplant at Christ.
Wow.
Yes, and he is from the Waukegan, North Chicago area, and he's been with us for 4 years. We've been keeping him alive until he could get a heart. So we will also have the gift of hope there to explain, because some people do get concerned about receiving someone else's organ, and we want to make that something that we embrace. It is life-saving.
Yes,
it
it
is a medical procedure that is life-saving. So they will be there as well.
We'll also be highlighting healthcare power of attorneys and how that can help to embrace the organ donation process. And so there'll be information regarding that, which you already have embraced.
Okay.
You and your wife. I remember helping you out with that.
Right.
And I
right,
appreciate
right.
you doing that, Doc.
It's it's a great point you brought up because a lot of people, black or white, never even thought about power of attorneys.
No, they haven't. They more or less think that it would automatically be something that will be deferred to the spouse.
Okay.
Well, what happens if there is no spouse? What happens if the spouse and the partner are both in a car accident together, and they're both on life support? Then who makes the decision? And so the healthcare power of attorney will be able to speak for you and speak through the agent that you have selected to be your voice in the event that you can't speak for yourself. And so it's important, because you may not want to get chest compressions. You may not want to be on life support. You may not want these things. And you also may want to be an organ donor. And so all these things can be expressed through the healthcare power of attorney. And
Carol, what about you have challenges in the Jamaican community that should be addressed? Hopefully we get a high participation. In
We
that
are
community.
hoping for a high participation. You know, the Jamaican community is just as similar to, you know, most of the black community. We just don't sense the urgency.
Okay.
Oh, it'll wait. Or I could take care of this next week. And then, you know, when it's really too late, then we have that sense of urgency. So that is the challenge, is getting everyone in ahead so you have what you need. You have the power to change the future.
We hadn't talked about, I guess we did mention about the emergency department, because you mentioned that there are people coming in using the emergency department as
yes.
the primary
Yes,
doctor to care, right? Right.
So you laugh, Doc, but it's true.
It's on the rise.
It's true. They use it as their primary physician because they can't afford the insurance. They can't afford. Is it Trump Care now? They can't afford it. Many of them are living on public aid and things like that, and can't afford to pay for a personal physician. So they come to the emergency room. So what are we going to do? We're going to embrace them. We're not going to turn them away. There are some weekends you can come to the emergency room, Dr. Brooks, and they're standing room only.
Wow.
Yes, sir. You have carts out in the hallways, but Condell is ministering to the needs of the community. They are serving them. They're allowing them to come in and help them with their health care needs, even if they're standing room only.
So actually what they do is prepare for this and have a prepared by emergency staff.
Yeah.
Maybe because they know it's going to be a heavy utilizer.
On the weekends.
On the
On
weekends,
the
yeah.
weekends, holidays, it is heavy traffic. And I tell you, sometimes it can take its toll on a person like myself as a chaplain. Some of
Okay.
the things we see really begins to hit hard. But we have to continue to stay prayed up
Yeah.
and to do the will of God in helping the people, loving thy brother as thyself, loving thy sister as thyself.
You learn,
Yes,
you
sir.
learn well.
Yes.
You're training well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I want you to review your mission statement, objective, and your purpose. And before we terminate the program, we want to just really emphasize how important it is for your group
Do you want to
to,
talk about that? Okay.
be together.
Our mission in a nutshell, Dr. Brooks, is to enlighten, to make aware, the need of Black Americans to be better stewards of their own health. In a nutshell, that's what our mission is. And we, as the Lord's emissaries, want to bring this information to the people, to the Black community in particular during this Black Health Expo. But we want to also bring awareness to everyone in the Lake County community about the need to take care of oneself and to reach out and attain the medical care that's available to you. We don't want to see people falling out in the street because they haven't gone to the doctor and had a blood test, had blood work, had a colonoscopy. We want to bring this information to them and also highlight the importance of doing these things. It's important because obesity works the heart twice as hard.
Okay.
Okay, it works the heart twice as hard. I've seen people come into the ICU where I minister at daily, and they cannot hardly breathe, can't hardly breathe because of their overweight, and they can't breathe because the heart has been working so hard for so many years to get blood through your body.
Wow.
And now it's about to shut down. But there is hope. There is hope, Dr. Brooks, and I tell you, the hope is in what the Lord has invested in doctors, nurses, administrators in the hospital, professional people who have been gifted by God to do this type of work and to bring it to the community in a holistic manner. We're not here playing games, Dr. Brooks. We're concerned about people's health. We're concerned about them living a healthier lifestyle. We're concerned about them having longevity as a goal in their lives. See, before sin entered in, and I have to say this, before sin entered in, we weren't supposed to die. We weren't meant to die. We were meant to live forever. But since it has entered in, God has blessed us to have long lives. Amen. And I just I had to put that in, Doctor.
Well, this is a fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we want to help influence the community.
What about long-term health care?
Long-term health care. Go to your doctor on a regular basis. Get your checkups. Doc, and if he gives you, go and get this medication, go get it. Take your medication. Eat well. Don't eat just to eat. You can eat cake. Don't let anybody tell you can't eat cake, but don't eat the whole cake.
But if you're diabetic, you could eat small portions.
You can eat small portions, yes,
Small
sir.
portions.
Yes, sir. You can still enjoy the food you like, but you have to do it in a way that is healthy eating. You can't just eat and eat and eat. And please, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy eating. Oh, yes. I enjoy eating at my church. I was preaching Sunday, and I said, one of the things we do well is we feast. We eat well, Doc, but we don't eat like there's no tomorrow. We eat in small portions, and it's important, sir.
Really, this people watching this program that have asked me about Black physicians, and I'm sure they will get the answer when they see this program, But it's the reason I asked the question come forward because they think that the Black physician will be he would know more about the Black
Us, yes.
body than white, because there's some diseases only affect Black.
There's a term that we've been pondering in our Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and it's called implicit bias. Implicit bias. what that is that there is this distrust that is implicit within the black community, the black male, the black female in the community, that doctors do not mean them any good. They just want to experiment on them. But we're trying very hard, and you're going to help us tremendously to debunk that thought, that idea, because these black doctors are sincere about their heritage, about their ancestry, and they want to see black people achieve at the highest level, whether it be health, education, or employment. They are serious, Doc. They are serious about their black heritage. Yes, sir.
For
now,
about 30 seconds, tell us about women. They take care of themselves. There are certain diseases affect women more so than
absolutely. And
men.
again,
That's another program, I guess.
that's
But
probably.
you
But
only got 30
again,
seconds.
even in the African American community, a pregnant woman may not go and seek all the prenatal care she should get, and so that's a huge problem. Then you show up, you have the baby, and the baby has issues. Some of those can be avoided by the early prenatal care and getting ultrasounds during the pregnancy and so on. So yes, I think women have the same issue of sometimes I can't afford it, I don't have time, I have to work, every excuse to not go get checked.
So we should have a high population of women coming to the Expo too. Right?
I would hope so.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Reverend Dr. Tyron Smith.
yes, sir.
Senior Staff Chaplain, Advocate, Condell Medical Center, Libertyville, Illinois, and Carol Hawkins, Manager, Cardiology and Respiratory Services. They have been bringing us up to date on a program that they have initiated along with Advocate Condell Hospital about Black Health Expo 2018. Going to be held Saturday, August 25th from
sir.
10 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. Free event, lunch will be provided.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Community Forum. My name is Dr. Wardell Brooks Sr., your host.